Okay, and it's your turn.
Okay, guys, I had lots of favorites, right? Lots of fun guests this year, but one that kind of stuck out in my mind was Dylan Muirbrook from the city, who came to talk about Roundabouts.
Right.
Which I missed.
Which was so grand. I really thought that it was going to be something just like history. You know what I mean? Just like meh. But it was so informative, and I loved it because Dylan was in my ward, so I've known him since he was a little boy. To have him come on set, so knowledgeable, so engaged with what he was doing, and gave us the reason behind some of the stuff that the city does.
I love that you chose this because now we're going to play the Roundabouts again, so everyone that missed it before can learn a little bit more about Roundabouts.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have some more in the city, hopefully, he says.
Yeah, we are.
It's good. Okay.
Let's roll that clip. Welcome back to Studio Chatter. It seems like we can't go a day without someone complaining about the new roundabouts on social media. Well, let's get a little education. Let's welcome Dylan Muirbrook, a city traffic engineer, to the table. Well,
thank you for coming, Dylan.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Dylan is my neighbor, guys. He was my home teacher. He's a fabulous human being, and now he's an expert at roundabouts.
Yay!
Most importantly, I'm born and bred in Spanish Fork, so I know it. I get it, right?
He understands. This is a panic for us all right now.
We're all panicking. I get it.
Yes. Well, we've definitely had this conversation in our home as well. And it's like the ins and outs. How do we go in and out? Do we blink? Do we use our blinker? Do we not? Do we just keep circling? Do we stop? So thank you for being here. Thank you for educating us. And first things first, let's just start a little basic. Why are we seeing the roundabouts?
Because we live in a small town.
Right.
Please educate us.
They're still kind of new, right?
Yes.
So roundabouts, I don't know if they were an invention of this country. I like to take credit for everything good in the world, but I think roundabouts might not have been one of our inventions, but it is a great invention. The roundabout is designed to be safer for everyone that uses a road. That includes the vehicles, so people driving their cars, bicycles, and pedestrians. It's safer and better for everyone. They're more efficient, and they're a lot more attractive. They make our city look more beautiful instead of less beautiful. So there's a lot of advantages to them. And they're simple, right? You only go one direction. No, it's simple.
That's where you lost it.
The citizens are like, no, we're going to keep
Let
going.
me explain. It'll be simple. It'll be
Okay.
simple. You only go one direction in the roundabout, right? And that's counterclockwise. So in a roundabout, you only go in the one direction always.
Could you get out a car?
Yep,
so
we're gonna
Dylan
start.
can
Yeah, we're
explain
gonna
this to
start
us?
pulling these out. Yep.
Pick a car, Dylan.
This is the best training that I've ever done on a
we all
roundabout.
get two. I got to pick
She
mine
wants purple.
first.
She likes purple.
Everybody gets to pick
don't
two.
take purple.
Two. Okay.
All right. I'll pick that one.
Well, we're picking cars.
This one.
Okay, so we're talking about direction.
All right. Okay, direction,
And,
counterclockwise for sure.
The beauty of them. And then what about, are they actually more cost effective?
Yes, when you look at the big picture, the initial construction cost is not cheaper, right? They're more expensive to construct.
Okay.
But over the life cycle of a roundabout, we do see a lot of cost savings, and we'll talk about why that is in a minute. But here's what I was explaining about one direction, right? So as you enter the roundabout, you only ever go counterclockwise, right? You never go against the grain of a roundabout.
So if I'm coming this way, I'm not supposed to go that way.
Nope. And in fact, that's why these are so beautiful. We designed these. You see these islands here in the middle of the roundabout on the roadway? These direct traffic, right? If you were to just kind of coast along the roadway, and if it were, a bumper car or something, and you were bumping into that curb, it would send you right into the middle of the lane where you're supposed to be, right?
Sure would. This would be an obstruction.
So it's
Exactly.
if I
a
tried
guide.
to roll over.
Exactly. It's a natural guide. Even for people, like a lot of our residents who maybe have never seen a roundabout before, it's a little bit intuitive, right? It just follows the natural shape of that roundabout. So that's the first good thing, is how we design those. It channelizes. That's the technical word that the engineers will use when they describe it. You're channelizing the cars into a certain place.
I love that word.
We need one of those for my children. I can channel, just channel where they
Just
go.
want to try it. Okay, so now Dylan, Now I'm in here. Now how do I get out?
Right? How do you get out, right? And so likewise, just in the same way that coming in and turning left would be difficult, going out by turning left here would be very difficult, right?
Very.
So this would be a maneuver that you would have to go over the curb and you'd hit both curbs, right? Again, it's very intuitive that the roundabout is designed to flow you out where you need to go.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Should be.
it should be,
Should
right? If we don't think too hard about it, it will, right? So that is how they're designed. They're designed to be an easy in and an easy out.
So who has the right of way?
So
Great.
you always yield to whoever's in the roundabout already.
So let's all enter the roundabout.
Okay?
I'm coming down past.
Who gets to go
I'm
first?
going to Vasa.
So this is a rough one. The correct answer here is that, is anyone already in the roundabout?
No.
That means we can all go.
Okay.
Okay? Now we're all inside.
She's starting to honk because I'm a slow
If you're too
driver
slow,
entering,
yeah,
right?
you either go
And
or
then
you
I
stop.
Okay.
She's gonna have to go.
I'm
She's
gonna
have
let you go.
All
Okay.
right, she's going to yield.
And don't stop. That's because
don't
people are
stop.
stopping.
Oh, and I missed that. Whoopsie.
And people need to use their blinker to go out.
Do they?
Excellent. Yes.
I just asked.
The law is that you're supposed to use your blinker. Now, as you may have
That's
noticed,
pretty quick, but that's a really quick. You know, if I'm
You're
going
supposed to.
from
Yeah,
here
and
to
then
here,
I flick it on really
what if I'm
quick.
going from here to there? That feels straight.
it's a good
Still
question.
a blinker,
And that's
right?
why people struggle so much to use their blinkers in roundabouts. And that's why you probably won't get pulled over if you don't. But yes, the answer is you should use your blinker right when you're about to exit the roundabout.
Okay.
Okay?
Which
Okay.
does make that a little bit tricky if we're just being honest, like right there.
does.
And then they're like, oh, are you
So I'm
going
trying to
here?
steer.
So you should kind of wait till here and then blink right
And then blinker, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the idea is once you're inside the middle of this roundabout, anytime that you leave the roundabout, you're technically turning right.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
I
as
got
soon
it.
as you're ready to turn right, you hit that blinker.
Okay. All right.
Now tell us about the middle and the landscaping.
Well, yeah. What if we did a little bit like that?
Because I
Then what
know
would
there's
happen?
been some senior citizens who are like, I can't see.
Don't
on
single
the
anybody
other
out."
side."
I don't know who's coming.
Why would
now.
they put a big? Why would they put big landscape right there to block the view?
That's a great question. So when we talked about how cars get in and out of a roundabout, I said it was intuitive, right? The landscaping in a roundabout is the part that's not very intuitive. This one doesn't make a lot of sense until you really start to think about it. Roundabouts are designed to be what we would call low kinetic energy. What that means is anytime that you could have a potential crash, it's going to be a less severe crash than in other situations. For instance, we'll use these two cars and we'll show it.
Okay.
If this guy's coming through and I fail to yield, right? This is funny because it's got the Union Jack on it, right? So we would assume they know how to use the roundabout, but we'll
we
just keep
would.
going. If I fail to yield here and I hit this vehicle, look what that collision's like. That's what we'd call a glancing blow, right? Kind of a side swipe, a deflection crash.
Not a T-bone or
Not a
anything
T-bone,
crazy.
not a head-on collision. These are the safest crashes you can have. Now, we don't want any crashes, and roundabouts reduce all crashes. But if there is a crash, we want it to be the
Minimal.
least severe that it can be, right? So that's the first thing. This center island has an important purpose, and that important purpose is very counterintuitive because we're trying to make drivers uncomfortable.
Ooh,
Right?
okay.
We're trying to make you a little bit uncomfortable
Because you can't
So
see.
you're
you
aware.
feel-
so that you're aware, right?
Yes.
Not only that, but let's look at it this way. If we have two vehicles coming from opposite sides of the roundabout, does it actually matter to this vehicle if this vehicle is here? Will it make
No.
any difference?
So you want them to divert their attention on what they can see, which is over here.
Exactly.
To where they need to yield.
As you
Instead
enter,
of looking down the road.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yep.
Okay.
As you enter a roundabout, once you've passed that crosswalk and you know there's no pedestrians and you enter that roundabout, the only place that you need to look to be safe is
To your left.
to your left. Right? You don't need to look straight
So
ahead.
this one just needs to look here. Of course, he's not going to do that, but look there, and then, oh, nobody's coming.
Right.
And then they can go.
And we find that a lot of people, if they were to see a vehicle coming straight at them and they're looking at this roundabout and they're thinking, whoa, I have to kind of divert around it, I'm not sure what I'm doing, and there's a car coming straight at me, they panic, right?
There's too
Yeah.
many things going on.
Too many things, right? Too many things to
Okay.
think about. There's someone coming at me from here, there's someone coming from here. So the center island has an important function. It focuses the driver's attention on what's important and can also make them a little bit uncomfortable, right? They'll pay a bit more attention if they're not sure what they're looking at.
Instead of like sitting at a stop sign, like texting and then going forward because they see
Exactly.
someone else move.
Exactly,
Yeah,
yep.
I like it.
Okay, so now we're going to advance.
Oh, boy.
We're going to level up.
Now we've learned our basics.
So that was fourth north. Now let's talk the
Let's talk
other.
about 2-lane roundabouts.
Okay, let's put this back in here because it's still going to exist.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay.
This is more up by.
Where is this by?
So this is behind
Walmart?
that small mart. Yes,
Yeah,
that small
Oh, I
Walmart.
love the neighborhood. Okay.
Yep.
All right, yeah, so it gets a little bit more challenging here, right?
Yes.
And people get a lot less comfortable.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yep. Because then I want to do this. Can I do that?
Yeah,
So-
Oh no!
What do we do?
How do
So
we?
these lines are good indications for what you're able to do, right?
Okay.
So just like if you were on the freeway, are you allowed to cross a solid white line?
No.
No, right? You're supposed to stay in your lane if it's a solid white line. If it's a dashed white line, can you cross it?
Yes.
You can,
Yes.
right? So similar here, as long as you don't have a solid white line, you're allowed to cross it. Now, for these vehicles moving south in this case, get it out of here, right?
Okay, so here they come.
If they're coming this way, we hope that the purple car, if they intended to turn left, we hope that they already knew that back here.
They're
And I did it.
We always hope.
100% I did it. So now I'm going to have to head off.
So they could both go here, or this car can turn and
Yep.
this one can go straight.
Exactly, yep. So technically, once this vehicle gets to this point, it can no longer go left at this intersection.
Crap. This is where I'd get a ticket. Then I'd be like, hey, I got to go to Walmart.
Yep.
Nope, bad.
So then they should have
deal.
switched lanes
Beforehand.
beforehand
Yep.
if they were going to exit over here or come back.
Yep, and the pavement markings are helpful for this. So you see these two pavement markings here. Those will exist also before
Oh,
they
good.
enter the roundabout,
Good.
and they help people understand what this lane can do, right? It's the same as a regular intersection.
Yeah.
If the lane has a right turn arrow in it, you know you can turn right. Right?
Yes.
Same principle.
Okay, good. I'm glad that we have pre-warnings back there. That'll be helpful. Okay, then we get around to the side area
This
where
one.
the
This is
dotted
the
lines.
one where I always hope. I'm like, oh, should I go there or there?
Yeah, good question, huh?
Yeah.
So you would think here, because it's a dashed white line, that you can cross it, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, if there's no one there, you could and nothing would happen, right?
Okay.
This is only a dashed white line because of this vehicle coming into the roundabout.
Oh,
Does that
got you.
make sense?
So that they can come into the roundabout.
Okay.
Okay, so it's mainly for an entrance,
Right.
not
Yep.
really for an exit.
Exactly. And that's why it's still following that same arc of that circle, is to indicate you're supposed to be moving with that.
You guys are
same
trying to make it as simple as possible for us.
flow. You know, and that's the thing, is I think if a lot of drivers just turned off the panic a little bit and let the roundabout guide them, they might be better off, right?
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
advocate for not paying attention on the roadway, but I think that a lot of people could benefit from calming down a little bit at the roundabouts, because they're designed to be very simple and intuitive. As you approach the roundabout, you look to the left. If there's nobody there, continue through the roundabout, right? With these 2-lane roundabouts, a little bit more complex, but pay attention to the signs and those pavement markings, and they'll tell you where you can go depending on what lane you're in.
So overall safety.
Safety, yep. So like we talked about, safety is predominantly because we have these collisions that are less severe, right? Now, a lot of people ask me about pedestrians at roundabouts, right? And people think, well, okay, you've convinced me that the vehicles are safer, but are pedestrians really safer? And the answer is yes, pedestrians are way, way, way safer at roundabouts. And that's for a
Why?
couple of
and
reasons.
I would think
yeah.
no, because constant movement.
Constant movement, right?
Right.
So here's how this works. The first thing we need to consider is at a traditional intersection. Now, I know people, if you're not an engineer and you don't look at roads all day, you don't know how wide a road is, right? But a road like Main Street is 80 feet wide. 80 feet is a lot of feet when you're walking, right? So to cross Main Street, you have to cross 80 feet at the same time. And you got to go fast. Roundabouts are great because you split that into two, and you also cut out a big chunk in the middle. So if this were 80 feet before, you now have crossings that are maybe 25, 30 feet tops.
Do they narrow a little bit as you enter to have people slow down? I know in some roadways they narrow them, even in
Yeah,
neighborhoods.
by Larson, we've narrowed
Even
that
in
a little bit.
neighborhoods, because it slows people down, some people get mad about it, but it's for safety. If
Yep.
it's more narrow, then you're like, oh, I got to slow down to make sure I'm
Exactly, yes. Yep. Again, it makes people uncomfortable, right? And that's the counterintuitive part of what I do for work is frequently the more uncomfortable people feel, the safer they act, right? And so I don't design roads to be unsafe, but I sometimes design them to feel uncomfortable because when people are uncomfortable, they pay more attention and they're more careful, right? So
The unknown.
The unknown,
makes you
right?
kind of be more
makes
cautious.
you slow down. So we do narrow those roadways down. So you're right. If the roadway were wider before, it's already automatically slimmer than it would have been. Plus, we're splitting it into 2 separate crossings. And what this does in the middle here, between these 2 concrete sections, this is what we would call a pedestrian refuge island. Okay, three fun words,
That
right?
is
Refuge.
exciting.
But the key word is refuge, right?
Yes.
So you sit in that middle until you're safe to go.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, and this is again why roundabouts are so great. Let me create a situation for you, okay? Let's imagine we're at a signalized intersection, okay? There's a traffic light, okay? It's a red light. So someone's crossing the road legally because there's a red light. What's going to happen if a driver is looking at their phone as they approach that intersection and
They
they don't
shouldn't be
realize?
looking at their phone.
They shouldn't be, but what if they are?
Yeah.
What's going to happen to that pedestrian?
They're going to get hit.
They're going to get
fast.
hit going
Yeah.
fast, right? Roundabouts are great for a number of reasons. One, there's a whole lot of visual cues and roadway improvements to make people pay attention. But if they don't, roundabouts are great because one, these crossings are way shorter. So people can get out of the way if they really need to. More importantly, if they notice a driver is not paying attention to the road or to them, they can wait in this center refuge island until the driver passes and until the next one sees them and yields, and then they can proceed.
Assuming
So you
somebody
have
doesn't.
to yield to these intersections,
always
correct?
yield,
With the
yep.
pedestrian.
Yeah,
Always
that's-
yield.
Okay.
Wow. We are completely enlightened. Thank you so much.
Are we out of time?
We are out of time,
Oh my
yes.
heavens, Dylan, you're
do you
fabulous.
love your job?
I do, and the reason I love it is because I get to serve Spanish Fork.